Hello my friends and welcome to our new lesson. Our new lesson is an expository text called Mysterious Oceans. We're going to begin with the vocabulary. Use the picture and the sentences to talk with a partner about each word. Now the first word is adaptation. Adaptation basically means change. Now let's read the example. Changing color is an adaptation some lizards have made to their environment. So, to suit their environment, some lizards change their color. And this is the adaptation that they make. This is the change that they make. Agile. Now, if you have an agile body, you have a flexible one. You can move fast. You can run fast. Kim was such an agile gymnast. She could do a back bend on a balance beam. And cache. Now, to cache something means to store it or hide it in a place. So, pirates may cache a treasure on an island, maybe. The example is, my parents cached jewelry and other treasures in an old wooden chest. And the next word is dormant, and you can describe a volcano as being dormant, which means inactive. Dormant means inactive. If a volcano is dormant, it's unlikely to erupt. It's not going to erupt soon. The guide explained that the volcano was dormant, so we felt safe standing near it. The next word is forage. Now, if animals forage for food in winter, this means that they look for food. They search and look for food. When winter comes, elk, deer, and other animals often have to forage for food, which means they have to look for food. And the next word is frigid. If the weather is frigid, it means it's very cold. We drank a hot beverage to warm up after being outside on that frigid day. After that cold day. Fine. And the next word is hibernate. A bear usually hibernates, which means it sleeps during the winter, maybe to save energy, body energy, because they won't find lots of food to eat. Some animals, such as the dormouse, hibernate in some way during the winter. So hibernate, sleep during the winter. And the last word is insulates. Now, in winter, you wear a heavy coat, and this coat insulates your body against the cold, which means this coat will not allow cold to get in. Fine. It will keep your body warm, right? My coat insulates my body against the cold. So, the title of the reading selection of today is Mysterious Ocean. Mysterious Oceans. And as you can see here, it is an expository text. And let's read the essential question. How are living things adapted to their environment? Which means, how do living things change? Maybe their behavior and maybe their appearance to fit their environment and to survive in their environments. As usual, we're going to begin with the reading skills. And if you ask me why, my answer is so that you can know the skills and apply them while we are reading the reading selection. Now, the first skill is ask and answer questions. And this is very important for understanding the passage, the reading selection that you're reading. So, whenever you feel uncomfortable about what you're reading, whenever you feel that there are things that you can't understand, you got to stop reading and ask yourself questions about the passage, and then get the answers to them. Let's read. Ask and answer questions. Asking and answering questions can help you check your understanding of complex scientific texts. You can ask yourself what the main ideas are, or whether you need to reread a section of text. Very good. So whenever there are things that you can't understand, you can ask yourself questions, or you can reread parts of the reading selection. And the second comprehension skill is cause and effect. Cause means something that caused an event, and effect means the result of such an event. For example, I stayed home because it's raining outside. Now, the result is, or the effect is, I stayed home, and the cause, which means what caused the event, what caused this result, is because it's raining outside, right? Now, we are going to notice this while we're reading the reading selection. And let's read. To figure out cause and effect relationships in a text, first look for an event or action that makes something happen. This is the cause. Then look for what happens as a result of that cause. This is the effect. Words and phrases such as because of, as a result, if, then, or when can signal cause and effect. And now we come to the genre, which is the type of reading that we're having. It's an expository text. Fine. Now, expository texts are all about presenting information. So it is not a story that you're reading for fun. Okay? And it's not a reading passage that aims at persuading you to do something, to buy something. Okay? No. It is about giving you information. And such expository texts will include lots of cause and effect relationships. Also, they will include text features such as photos, maps, and graphs to explain what's going on in the story. Okay. And the last skill is a vocabulary strategy or a vocabulary skill. Now, we studied this lots of time, right? We studied this lots of time. Now, context clues can be synonyms, antonyms, or definitions of unfamiliar words that we come across, right? So if there's a word that you don't know, now look around and you will find a clue that helps you figure out the meaning. Let's read. If you read an unfamiliar or multiple meaning word that puzzles you, confuses you, you can look for clues to its meaning as you read the paragraph in which it appears. Clues to a word's meaning can be found in the beginning, middle, or end of a paragraph, and as I told you, it can be a synonym, it can be an antonym, and it can be a definition to the word. Now we get back to the reading selection, which is Mysterious Oceans. Now basically this reading selection is talking about how sea creatures which live in the deep oceans survive. How do they adapt so that they can survive? Of course, like deep parts of the oceans are very, very dark, and they don't have enough food, and they are very, very cold. So we are going to notice the adaptations that such sea creatures make to survive in such places. Look at this map. It is one of the text features that expository texts use to explain the facts that such texts talk about. Fine. So we have a map here telling us about the continents and the oceans. Here we have the Indian Ocean, and here we have the Pacific Ocean. And this is called Challenger Deep. This is the deepest point in the oceans. Okay, which is, I think, seven miles maybe. So whenever you have an expository text, you're going to have graphs, you're going to have maps, you're going to have tables. Fine. Let's begin reading. Deep diving. It has no mouth, eyes, or stomach. Its soft body is encased in a white cylinder and topped with a red plume. So here we're describing a sea creature. Fine. A plume. A plume is just like the feathers you can see on the head of a bird. Fine. It is a sea creature known as a giant tube worm, and it lives without any sunlight on the deep, dark ocean floor. So, in this paragraph, the first paragraph, we are describing a sea creature, and we talk about how it lives deep in the ocean without any light. Fine? Now, the second paragraph, what we sometimes call the deep ocean, in contrast to shallow waters. Shallow, you know, is the opposite of deep. So shallow means on the surface, but deep means way deep inside. What we sometimes call the deep ocean, in contrast to shallow waters, covers almost 2/3 of Earth's surface. On average, oceans are about 2 miles deep. However, the deepest point known on Earth, Challenger Deep, descends nearly 7 miles. This is what we saw on the map. Challenger Deep, the deepest point in the oceans, which is 7 miles deep. The ocean's floor is varied, consisting of vast plains, steep canyons, and towering mountains. So we have plains, we have valleys and canyons, and we have mountains deep down in the oceans. It includes active, dormant, and extinct volcanoes. Now, this is a context clue. If you don't know what dormant is, the word active comes here as an opposite. This undersea world is a harsh environment because of its frigid temperatures and lack of sunshine. Frigid means very cold. The deep ocean is also a mysterious environment that remains largely unexplored. Little is known about it or its creatures. Fine. Why is this the case? We don't know much information about them, because it's very difficult to go down, the whole 7 miles or 4 miles in the ocean, deep in the ocean. Okay. Do any of them cache food the way land animals do? And cache means store. Do any ocean species hibernate, sleep during the winter? As one example among countless mysteries, not a single live giant squid had ever been spotted until a few years ago. We knew they existed only because their corpses had been found. And corpses means dead bodies. And here we are looking at a second text features, which is photos that is a characteristic of an expository text. Fine. Okay. We are going to talk about adaptations now. Amazing adaptations. When a submersible or submarine, this is another context clue. If you don't know what a submersible is, now submarine comes as a synonym. When a submersible or submarine was invented, that could descend farther than any other craft. Scientists were then able to make the Odyssey. Odyssey means a long trip to the deep ocean floor. However, exploration remains difficult, and they have since seen merely 5% of the underwater world. Okay, as scientists anticipated, which means predicted, life generally seems sparse at the bottom of the deep ocean. Few creatures can survive there. Food sources that sea creatures depend on, such as dead plants and animals, rarely drift down from the ocean's surface. Okay. So there isn't food deep inside the ocean. Okay. As a result, now this is cause and effect. There isn't food. This is the cause. The effect is animals have to adapt to an environment that is not only frigid and dark, but also has little food. Fine. So here we have a cause and effect relationship. One example of an adaptation to this environment is seen in the starfish. Deep sea starfish grow larger and more aggressive than their shallow water relatives. So we have two kinds of starfish. One that lives on the surface, near the surface, and one lives deep inside the ocean. Now they are different. See how. Deep starfish grow larger and more aggressive. Okay? Aggressive means always furious, always angry, always ready to attack. Okay? They can't afford to wait for an occasional snail to pass by. Instead, deep sea starfish are predators that actively forage for food. They reach up their 5 arms, which have pinches at the ends, to catch meals of agile, fast-moving shrimp. Anglerfish also are adapted to the Herculean task of finding scarce food. Okay? Sorry, Herculean, which means difficult to do, a difficult task. Each has a bioluminescent or naturally glowing lure on the top of its head. This shining pole is sensitive to vibrations and allows them to attract other fish. With their huge jaws, they quickly seize their prey. And here, prey is a homophone. Now, there is another word that is spelled P-R-A-Y. Okay? Now here, prey, P-R-E-Y, means an animal that is hunted. Okay? For example, the deer is the favorite prey of a lion, for example. But the word P-R-A-Y is when you pray to God. Fine? Okay. Here we're going to talk about heated habitats. Now scientists made a discovery. Now that discovery is that some places deep inside the oceans are hot. Okay, why? Because deep inside there are volcanoes and there is magma. Fine? What has truly surprised scientists, however, is the discovery of another very different type of environment on the deep ocean floor. They found that cracks or vents, and here also we use context clues. If you don't know the meaning of the word cracks, the word vents will help you. They found that cracks or vents in air surface exist underwater, just as they do on dry land. Seawater rushes into these vents where it mingles, which means mixes with chemicals. The water is also heated by magma or hot melted rock. Also, here you can use context clues, sorry. If the word magma is unfamiliar to you, this is the definition of it, or hot melted rock. When the water from the vent bursts back into the ocean, it creates geysers and hot springs. Okay. To scientists' amazement, the habitats around these vents teem with life, which means the habitats around these vents are full of life. And teem is another homophone with the word team, which is T-E-A-M, like your favorite team is Liverpool, for example. Fine? So team, T-E-A-M, is a homophone with this word, and this word means full of. In addition to tube worms, there are huge clams, eyeless shrimp, crabs, and mussels. This is also a homophone, right? Along with many kinds of bacteria. One odd creature is the Pompeii worm. It has a fleece of bacteria on its back that, as far as scientists can determine, insulates it from heat. So here there is heat around it, fine, and the fleece of bacteria will keep the heat away from its body. Okay. How can much life exist where there is so little food or sunlight? Scientists have discovered that many creatures transform the chemicals from the vents into food. The process is called chemosynthesis. Because of this process, animals are able to flourish in these remarkable habitats. Creatures that don't use chemosynthesis for food, such as crabs, eat the ones that do. There are many mysteries to be found and solved at the bottom of the deep sea. In the last few decades alone, and the word decade means 10 years, scientists have discovered more than 1,500 ocean species. If scientists continue sea exploration, they are bound to discover many more. So, my friends, this is the end of this text. Now, the major things that it discussed are how animals could live in the deep oceans, and how, now, of course, where there is no light and there is no food, fine, and how could these animals adapt, which means change their behavior and change the way they live so that they can survive. Okay, boys, this is it for today. I wish you liked this video. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, whether on Edmodo or in the comments. Bye-bye, and see you in another video.